Hi, I'm Jason, and today I'd like to talk to you about a very sensitive subject, baguettes. Okay, maybe it's not a super sensitive subject for you. For me, it's a very sensitive subject because as a bread baker for a long time, I didn't know how to make them. I loved eating baguettes, I loved making sandwiches out of them, I loved just eating them straight up, but I didn't know how to make a good baguette at home. And then eventually when I learned, I found out that it's a process that involved a lot of special pans and baskets and steaming and shaping processes, and I very quickly became obsessed with simplifying the process and getting rid of every bit of special equipment and technique so that I could do it more often and get a really good result with less effort. So this video is my report to you on the results of all of that experimentation. What that means is that even if this is your first loaf of bread, this is going to be a really accessible recipe, but that at the end of it, we're going to end up with something that looks like this. I love traditional recipes, but it's time for some new tradition. This is baguettes the easy way. Okay, I'm really excited to share this method with you. First, if you find this video useful or interesting, please make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be putting out weekly videos for the next foreseeable future. So if you want to make sure that you find out when those are coming out, then please click subscribe. Also, I just started the channel, so I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much for doing that. Also, if you want full written recipes for this or anything else I'm doing, then head on over to kennedyfood.com. That's my website, and that's where they live. Okay, enough business, enough housekeeping. Let's talk baguettes. We're going to be putting the dough together right now, and it's the same dough that I made in my first video on simplified artisan bread. So if you're interested in that, if you want to start there, or if you want to deeper dive into the dough, or if you just want to see a super cool video, then go ahead and click on that. But it's a really simple dough, 4 ingredients that I add an extra ingredient to, olive oil, that comes together fast and gives you maximum flexibility, and you're about to see just how fast and flexible it is. So we're going to keep it tight on this one. Let's head into the kitchen and start making our baguette dough. Okay, I told you this dough was easy. I'm about to show you just how easy. I'm going to set a timer. We're going to see exactly how long it takes to bring this dough together. I'm also not using any special equipment. I will be measuring only with a mug. Okay, set a timer. Let's get going. 1, 2, 3, boom. 1 mug of flour. In. 1 spoonful kosher salt. If you want a version of dough that does not use any yeast, this is about 1/3 of a teaspoon or so, maybe 1/2. Doesn't really matter too much. If you want a version that doesn't use any yeast, stay tuned. I'm going to be doing one of that recipe soon. 1/2 mug of water. First, we mix our dry ingredients. Water in. I put in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just for fun. Helps condition the dough. I love olive oil, why not? Now we mix. Basically, we're just trying to incorporate the water and flour so that we don't have any dry pockets. Now I go in with the hands. You can't do this entirely with a fork, but I feel like the hands give you a better idea of what's going on. This is a little bit dry. I'm gonna add the rest of my water that I held back. If you want a version that uses a scale to measure so that you don't have to be involved in the fine tuning, then go to my website, kennedyfood.com. and I'll provide you with a proper version that measures your ingredients and gives you predictable results every time. We're doing this rustic style. We're also doing it speedy style because we're done. Time. This is done. We're going to cover this with plastic wrap. We're going to leave it to sit for a day. That's going to give all of this time to incorporate. It's going to give everything that's in the dough time to extract flavor from the dough. We're going to end up with a nice, flavorful dough that's full of gluten, and we didn't have to do any kneading. I will see you in a day. Okay, so it's been a day, and take a look at this. We've got dough. Let's get the plastic wrap off here. And I'm going to show you everything you need to do to this dough to turn it into bread. And it's almost nothing. We're going to give it a quick fold. And we can see lovely air pockets, nice stretch. So all we need to do, we want to protect these air pockets. We're just going to go in. If you watched my first video, this will be very familiar to you. Okay, we're basically taking the gluten that's in here and knitting it together to give the bread a little bit of extra structure without deflating our air pockets, which is going to save us from having to proof it. Hey, look, we're done. That's it. That's all I'm doing to this. The only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bowl, and this is an optional step, but if you're going to keep your dough in the fridge, you know, you're not going to bake it right away, then this is definitely how you do it. You just oil a little bowl so that it contains your dough, kind of shapes it a little bit because it'll continue to proof a little bit in the fridge. You'll get a puffier dough when you take it out. There. The oil also helps the crust blister a little bit, and I think it makes it look nice. Hey, look, that's it. That's done. So we mixed it. We mixed it for like what? Whatever the timer said. I don't remember. And then we folded it for, I don't know what that timer was, but maybe 10 seconds. And this is it. We're ready to turn this into a baguette. So here's one straight from the fridge, and just like I did with the artisan bread, we're going to be making bread out of our fresh dough that's still warm, room temperature, and we're going to be making a baguette with cold dough straight from the fridge. That's I made about 2 days ago, I would say, and you can see what both of them look like. But it means with this one, you can make this, put it in the fridge, and then it's ready to go. And you can go from no bread to bread in like an hour or two. No proofing, no waiting for it to come up to room temperature. This is maximum flexibility. I'm excited about this. Let's get into the shaping process. Okay, so for shaping, gonna grab a little bit of flour, ready a piece of parchment paper like this. This is one of the real innovations of this process because it gets rid of any difficult shaping that you might have to do for a baguette. Put a little bit of flour down. This might not be so necessary for this one because this is cold dough, but get it out of our bowl here. Again, taking care not to disrupt the air too much. Okay, just going to give this a bit of a turn so it's not too sticky. Okay, so we're ready to shape here. This is one of the key innovations in this process. It's one of the most fun ways to shape a bread, but it's also one of the easiest. I call it the poke and stretch method. Give a little bit of flour in the center, then we take our pointer finger and do what it's good for, right down into the dough. Okay, just give it a little bit of that, and then lift it, and then we're going to take that hole and just kind of stretch it out, just like that. We're going to give it a little bit of steering wheel action like this, and gravity is going to stretch it out for us, just like this. And then I'm going to take a point where it's thin, I'm going to pinch it off, and we're going to separate that out. And this is a log of dough. that looks a lot like a baguette, doesn't it? That's it. We shaped our dough. Only 2 more things need to happen to this. We need to give it a score, and we need to put it in a piece of parchment paper that's going to trap the steam while it bakes. It's also going to contain it a little bit to keep our baguette shape and keep it from spreading out too much. So let's do that right now. I'm going to score it with this knife right here. Any sharp knife will do. Now, traditionally baguettes have a lot of these parallel lines. I find with this approach, the best results come from just one long score down the center like that. And that's it. Now we get a piece of parchment paper and we want to transfer this onto there. And now we just want to create a little parcel for this, just like that. Now, you can create your parcel by giving it a flip and then another flip, and that makes it pretty easy. This is done. Let's do the other one. Okay, here's our dough that is still warm, so we're going to do exactly the same process with this one. Remember, we've just taken this from a day of fermentation, sitting in a bowl, a light fold, and now here we are, ready to make baguettes. And again, we're going to give it a poke, and we're going to give it a stretch. Now the results you get from doing one straight from the fridge and doing one that's warm is not going to be exactly the same, but they're both going to give you really good results. You know, you can decide which one you like the best, and you can choose to do it that way. Certainly doing it from the fridge gives you a lot of flexibility. Okay, find a thin piece, pinch, et voila. Now if your ends are a little, now they'll kind of shape up in the oven, so you don't really have to worry too much about it. So this one's a little less wet. Grab our parchment. This one, I will score on the parchment. This doesn't get any simpler than this. One, two, done. Fridge, fresh made. Both of these are ready to go into a hot oven. Do that and set a timer for 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. Now, the parchment needs to come off because it's done everything it needs to do. Let's take a look. Looks like baguettes, right? Set a timer for another 20-25 minutes. We're cooking these until they're brown. Fresh from the oven, 2 baguette-shaped breads. They smell really great. We gotta let them cool for about half an hour, and then we're gonna cut into them, see what they look like. Okay, I've waited as long as I can. I need to find out what's going on here, so let's do this. First of all, just give these a little, hope the mic picks this up. That bodes well. Okay, let's do this long one first. This is the one that we took straight from the fridge, put in the oven. So I like to cut baguettes on the bias. Here, let's cut the end off. And then just cut a little. It's my favorite way to cut up a baguette. Very nice. See? It's a nice loaf of bread. Let's check this one out. Oof. Beauty. Baguettes, the easy way. Listen, I got nothing against doing things the hard way, but I think you'll find the ease and flexibility of this recipe is unmatched. You get like 90% of the result for like 10% of the work. So I'm really proud of this. I think it's a really solid recipe, and I hope you give it a try. If you found this video interesting or useful, please consider leaving a like, consider subscribing to the channel. I got lots more content to come, but more importantly than any of that, I've got one very discerning person who needs to get a little bit of bread. So until next time, I'm Jason. This is Kennedy Food. Go make some bread. Baguette's the easy way. Diego, you want some bread? You want some bread? You spin? Spin? Good boy. Good boy, Diego. Good boy.